picture this: a single kick. An entire nation's hopes are resting on your shoulders. The penalty shootout has got to be one of the most high-pressure moments in all of sports. For decades, players and psychologists have been on a quest for the secret to success. You know, the perfect spot to aim, the perfect run-up. But what if that whole search for a single perfect move is completely wrong? What if the real winning edge isn't about perfection at all, but about a simple coin toss?
This phrase right here, "a hole in the sky," it's actually the title of the autobiography of Italian soccer legend Roberto Baggio. And it's how he described the single most famous and infamous moment of his entire career. A moment of just devastating failure that perfectly captures the insane weight of a penalty kick.
So let's set the scene. It's the 1994 World Cup final, Italy versus Brazil, and it all comes down to Baggio. He steps up to the spot, the entire world is watching, and he just skies the ball right over the crossbar. Brazil wins the World Cup. In that moment, and for years after, everyone asked the same question. Was there a better way? Was there some guaranteed method he should have used? Well, that hunt for the best way is exactly what we're going to dive into.
To really get our heads around the penalty kick, we have to understand this simple but really powerful idea at its core. You see, we've been analyzing it like it's a one-player problem, but it's not. It's a two-player game. It's a game within the game. And that game is called the guessing game. It's incredibly simple. Just imagine two players, and they each have two choices, A or B. Player 1 wins if they both choose the same thing. Player 2 wins if they choose different things. That's it. That's the whole game. One person wants to match, the other wants to mismatch.
Now this maps perfectly onto a penalty kick. The goalkeeper? Well, they're player 1. They win if they correctly guess where the kick is going. If they dive left and the ball goes left, they match the choice and they win. The kicker, on the other hand, is player 2. They win by mismatching the keeper. If they shoot left and the keeper dives right, they score. Their goals are in complete opposition to each other.
So, this brings us to the big question, right? If you're the kicker and the keeper knows everything you know, what's your single best move? Should you always aim left? Always go right? What is the optimal strategy here?
And the answer, which comes from game theory, is kind of wild. There is no single best move. The best strategy is to have no strategy at all. It's to be perfectly random. In a balanced game, this is called the Nash equilibrium, a 50-50 coin toss. Think about it. Any predictable pattern you have can and will be exploited by a smart opponent. So the only real way to win is to be unpredictable.
And this idea, it's not just about penalty kicks. The guessing game is really the hidden engine behind so many moments in sports. You know, a tennis player choosing to serve wide or down the tee. A baseball pitcher deciding between a fastball and a curveball. A volleyball player choosing a huge smash versus a soft little dink over the block. In every single one of these cases, predictability is death.
Okay, so if this concept is so fundamental, why does so much sports research seem to get it completely wrong? Well, it's because it makes one absolutely critical mistake. It forgets there's another player in the game.
A ton of sports psychology research follows this simple three-step method. First, they observe hundreds, maybe thousands of penalties. Second, they count which actions, like say shooting high and to the left, have the highest success rate. And then third, they recommend that all players should just do that most successful thing. It seems logical on the surface, but it has a massive blind spot.
And here's the problem. This whole approach treats a dynamic, interactive game against the thinking, adapting opponent as if it were just a static physics problem. It's like they're trying to find the best way to throw a rock at a stationary target. But in a penalty kick, the target moves. The keeper thinks, the keeper adapts, and the keeper is actively trying to outguess you.
I mean, here's a perfect real-world example of how a predictable strategy can fail. Back in the early 90s, the Norwegian national team, coached by a guy named Drillo, they shocked the world. They used data to optimize how they played, realizing that most goals came from just a few passes. So they started playing this super direct long ball style. And it worked for a while. But then opponents figured it out. They realized it was totally predictable. They adapted, they copied the style, and just like that, Norway's advantage was gone.
This flawed optimization mindset doesn't just fail on a national scale, though. So what kind of advice does it actually give to the individual player taking the penalty kick?
You might want to brace yourself for this. These are actual recommendations that have come out of this kind of research. Things like, be left-footed, okay? Wear a red jersey.
kick the ball into the top corner, which, is great advice if you can do it perfectly every single time. And my personal favorite, celebrate your goal as theatrically as possible. The author of the paper we're pulling from calls this advice silly, and yeah, it's not hard to see why.
Because just think about it. What happens if every player starts trying to kick the ball just below the crossbar? Well, keepers are going to start anticipating it. The edge disappears the second it becomes a predictable pattern. Recommending a single best action is just fundamentally useless in a game of wits.
So all of this brings us to the real takeaway. The true power in these kinds of situations doesn't come from finding some secret formula, but from embracing the exact opposite.
This quote from Kedil Hagen, the author of the paper we've been looking at, really says it all perfectly. You just can't recommend a single fixed action when the entire point of the game is to be random. The solution isn't a move, it's a process.
So at the end of the day, the goal for a penalty taker isn't to find that one magic spot the keeper can't reach. No, it's to cultivate a state of genuine unpredictability, to make it so the keeper has absolutely no clue where you're going to go next. Your ultimate weapon is strategic randomness. And that kind of leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? This isn't just about sports. Think about it in your own life, in business negotiations, in the stock market, maybe even in your career path. Where else are we so obsessed with finding that one perfect move, when the real lasting advantage might just come from being adaptable, flexible, and, you guessed it, strategically unpredictable?